Hello, dear students. Good morning. Welcome to your English class. The students, we have finished first two chapters of our supplementary book, Footprints Without Feet, and as chapter number 3 and chapter number 4 has been deleted from the syllabus, so today we will start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 5, and the title of the chapter is also Footprints Without Feet. And this chapter is a sci-fi. Have you ever heard this word sci-fi? Sci-fi stands for scientific fiction or science fiction. Fiction means stories. The stories which are based on the scientific things in which science plays a very important role, vital role. Such kind of stories are known as the sci-fi, getting invisible, going into the time machine. These are some of the stories which comes in the under the category of the sci-fi or the science fiction. So let us start. First of all, we will have a look over the author. The story has been written by Herbert George Wells. He is also known as H. G. Wells. He was an English writer. He was a prolific in many genres, writing dozens of novels, short stories, and works of social commentary, satires, biography, autobiography, even two books on recreational war games. He is now best remembered for his science fiction novels and is often called father of science fiction. He has written some of the most important, some of the most remembered novels, and that comes in the category of the science fictions. His most important novels are The Time Machine, The Island of the Doctor, The Murdew, The Invisible Man, The War of the Worlds. Let us move to have a introduction of the chapter. The chapter or the story, The Footprints Without Feet, has been taken from his novel The Invisible Man. The writer H.G. Wells has written a novel. The title of that novel is The Invisible Man, and the story that we are going to take today, The Footprints Without Feet, is a part of that novel. This story is about a scientist whose name is Griffin. He discovers a rare chemical which can make a man invisible, but at the same time, the man can be touched and felt physically. Let us read and find out how he uses or misuses the parts of his own. Okay, let us move to the story now. The story opens in the streets of the London. There were two boys who were looking at the imprints of the pair of the barefoot in the streets of the London on a step of a house, and they were in a great surprise following those footsteps, and they were wondering what the man is doing in the middle of the London over the steps of the house. And the greatest surprise was that they were thinking, where is that man whose footprints can be seen on the steps of the house? They were gazing, they were staring at those footprints. Suddenly a new footprints appeared in front of them, and from nowhere, it came from nowhere. It means the man whose footprints were coming over the steps, over the streets, the man was not visible, and the boys, in a great surprise, were following those footsteps. And it so happened, after one footsteps, there came another, there came another, there came another, and slowly there came a lot of footprints. And after some time, gradually the footprints disappeared, and the boys were looking at them in a great surprise. The mystery of the footprints was resolved very soon, and its answer can be seen given very easily. Actually, the boys were following a scientist who had discovered a medicine that can make a human body transparent. The boys were following the footprints of a scientist whose name is Griffin, and the scientist had discovered a medicine. The scientist has made a medicine which can make the human body transparent. Actually, the scientist Griffin was carrying out many experiment, or he was carrying out experiment after experiment, experiment after experiment, just to prove it that human body can be made invisible. And finally he was able to make such a medicine, such a drug. After taking it, our body will become transparent. You know what happens when we can when we are able to see anything? We are able to see anything only when, as science says it, when the light is reflected from that object to our eyes. And if the light is not reflected from that object and it goes through it, and it does not comes return back to our eyes, we cannot see that thing. This is the law of getting or being invisible. So the scientists believe that if anyhow I can make the human body transparent, then the human body will become invisible. So he carried out many experiments, and finally he was able to invent a medicine which can make a human body transparent as glass. And he swallowed that medicine and he became invisible. But one thing was very interesting about his invisibility, that though he was invisible, his body was invisible, but his body can be physically touched and felt. It was as solid as a glass, it was as solid as it used to be earlier, only it cannot be seen. Okay, let us move on. Though Griffin was a very brilliant science, but he was also a lawless person. He did not have a very good relationship with his landlord, and his landlord wanted to turn him out of his house. And when he became invisible, in order to take revenge from his landlord, he set his house on the fire and ran away from the house. And because he was running, so people must have been following him. So what he did, in order to become invisible, he removed all his clothes, he threw all his clothes, and then he ran away from there, and he became invisible. Now he was invisible, wandering without money, without clothes, in the streets of the London. And anyhow, suddenly, anyhow, accidentally, he had stepped in some mud, and it were his footprints whose that can be seen in the streets of the London, that were seen by those two boys. Okay. Though that he easily escaped from those boys who were following him, but his adventures, his problems were not getting over. Actually, he had chosen a very wrong time of the year to be without clothes and to wander naked in the streets of the London. Actually, it was the mid of the January, and it was a chilly winter over there, and the scientist Griffin was shivering with the cold. And then he decided that he needs some place to warm himself. So he decided to, as he went, he decided to enter in some store where he can found some clothes to make himself warm. He went, there was a big store, he went over there, and as he went inside the store and closing time arrived, the doors of the stores were shut and nobody was inside there. He entered in a big store, closing time arrived, everybody left the shop, and now he was all alone over there. He got food to eat and wore new clothes without paying for. He became visible again as he wore shoes, overcoat, and hat. And then he found cold meat and coffee in the kitchen and ate them. After that, he also had sweets and wine from the grocery stores. Then he slept on the pile of the quilts kept nearby and could not awake on time. See what happened? He entered into that shop. He put on a lot of clothes, and he also, not only clothes, he also fed himself with various dishes that were available in that shop. Now he was feeling very comfortable, so he slept over there. Everything was going very fine. and everything might have been very fine had Griffin managed to wake up early in the morning. But he couldn't wake up early in the morning. Next morning, the shop got opened. Next morning, when the assistants came and started approaching him, he became nervous and started running away. See what happened? Next morning, the shop was open. The person who used to work in the shop, they came, they opened the shop, they found a man was sleeping in their shop. All right, they went toward that man, and when they went toward that scientist Griffin, and when he saw those men coming toward them, he started running. And what is natural thing? When any person starts running after seeing us, what do? Simply do we give a chase to that person. So again those persons started giving a चेज टू हिम. उन लोगों ने उसे एक चेज करना शुरू किया. वो साइंटिस्ट आगे आगे और दो उस स्टोर के वर्कर्स उसके पीछे पीछे. दे वर रनिंग एंड एनी हाउ द साइंटिस्ट ग्रिफिन वांटेड टू escape from those person, and he has only one way to escape from those person, that was removing his claws. So one by one, he threw all his claws, and again he became invisible. And anyhow, he was able to get rid of those person. But again, he had the same problem. Again, he was without claws and without money in the in the chilly air of the January. Okay, dear students, as Griffin was again without food, without money, and without clothes in the middle of the London, and in the mid of the January, which was very cold, he decided to find a new place for him where he can get something for him. So this time he decided to try the clothings of the theatrical world. Theatrical world means drama company. This time he decided that he will go to a drama company shop, and he will find out some clothes which are suitable for himself and which can at least cover his face. So he quickly reached the Drury Lane. Drury Lane is the place where there is a lot of drama companies. He went over there. He was shivering with the cold. He entered in a shop, and after entering in the shop, he wore a bandage over his face, and then he also had a false nose, whiskers, hat, and goggles over his face. Now, after wearing all these things, he came out of the shop, and now he needed money. In order to get some money, he went very silently to the back of the shopkeeper, and he attacked him very cruelly and robbed all the money, and he left from that place. Okay, after he has looted the shopkeeper, he wanted to leave the London, and he was very eager to leave the London. Dear students, this is the story up to now. What happened after next, whether Griffin was caught or not, we will see in the next part of the video. Okay, thank you.